Okay, so I'm interested to see how many people turn up today, given it's half term, which I'm pleasantly surprised at how quickly, now that I don't have half terms anymore because I don't have half term at university, that I'm out of half term and I keep going, oh, it's really quiet outside. Oh, it's because it's half term. Everybody's gone on holiday. There you go. So, right. So this week, what I wanted to say, and this I think this is going to be a recurring theme, is that if you, particularly in the golf clubs, if you have a complaint from an employee, and I'm going to say it's usually a female employee, about a male member of the golf club, this is going to be usually a sexual one, not a full assault, hope to God. But we've just had one where the gentleman in question thought it was appropriate to go to a 17-year-old female and stroke her upper arm and stroke her hair. It's like, ooh, I mean, even just talking about it makes my skin crawl. It's ridiculous. And they went through a process, but they didn't involve us in it. Now, I don't know why they didn't involve us in it. That it seemed, given that we've just dealt with another sexual harassment case at that club, I don't know why they didn't have us on speed dial, to be honest. But they went ahead with this one thinking they knew it. The captain is the one in their bylaws who is supposed to be doing the investigation. And the captain decided, after talking to the member of the golf club, that there was nothing to answer. And then a different person was interviewing the female bar staff about the situation. The reason it came to us now, and we're aware of it, is because the bar manager has raised a grievance about how the person talking to the female bar staff did it, because it was perceived as being that the female bar staff were the guilty people and that they were being interrogated, whereas it was the member of the golf club who'd done the bad thing wrong. Okay. Now, this has only just come to us because they're like, we haven't done anything wrong, but there's this grievance and can you help us shut it down? And we're like, well, send us the information you got. And then we're reading it through. It's like a 17-year-old female, you're stroking her hair. It's just, oh, gross. And they have decided that it's just, he said, she said, they can't possibly decide on it. There's not enough evidence. And so they're not going to do anything. There's no sanction. There's no note. There's nothing. And we've gone, no, that's not an option. You have to take action. The law has changed. You have to take reasonable actions to prevent sexual harassment. And that means not only prevent, but deal with issues when they're raised. Okay? You don't then say, when there is very clearly an example of somebody doing inappropriate, because I mean, the thing being, and those of you who watch the BBC drama that we've sent out will understand this, he's done that. Is that, oh, well, she's got nice hair. Okay, so would he do it to a man? Oh, no, he's not gay. So it is sexual then. So there you go. You've answered your own question. So it's obviously sexual. This is sexual harassment. She didn't say, could you please stroke my hair? Because who would do that? Goodness me. Oh, I've got really soft hair. It's just the level of willful ignorance that the members of a golf club show when they are required to discipline their peers is unbelievable. I mean, it's a whole different world. And the club manager was saying, well, this guy is good because the one who did the investigation with the member, because he used to work at Marks and Spencer's. It's like, okay, but he didn't ask for any support from HR to know what the current legislation is. So obviously he's not that good, because if he was really good, he would know that things change. There's case law, blah, blah, blah. Need to make sure, because this is a legal thing. This is sexual harassment. Need to check them on the right page. None of that. He felt that he knew exactly what to do and he did it. Now, we don't have his notes. We've asked for those. They're going to be sent through. And I do feel a little bit like I'm repeating myself, very much deja vu, is you have to get all your staff to do the training on sexual harassment, this online training that we keep sending out. We send out the link to the training company. They have other trainings as well, but the one that we want you to do as a minimum is how to avoid sexual harassment, what it means, but also to watch the BBC Three drama, which is about an hour long, where they go through a role play and then they ask groups of people, do you think that was sexual harassment? And then you hear all the standard objections, and they are dealt with by the BBC. This is not just us being, touchy-feely HR, which obviously we're infamous for. It's actually going through, this is why it's sexual harassment, this is what it means. And that will make it really clear to anybody who is doing these meetings what they're supposed to be doing. But you are supposed to be now, as of last Saturday, taking reasonable action to prevent sexual harassment. And they have said they are going to change it to all reasonable action. And that means that everybody who is involved with your organization should be trained, and that you absolutely have to sanction them if anything is done. What has been working very well in the golf clubs, and they're very willing to take it on board, is a zero tolerance policy. So you need to have signs up saying there is a zero tolerance policy, just like you see in the train stations, in the hospitals, everywhere, saying zero tolerance policy of verbal and physical abuse. And therefore, that should clarify to people. I'm going to say I should. I mean, honestly, you think they were intelligent enough that they're not supposed to do it. But it also means that you've already drawn a line in the sand and said, we do not tolerate this. So that if you then have a complaint raised against somebody, you actually can take action, because it says zero tolerance. So you've stroked her hair. That zero tolerance. You're out now. That's it. We can't do it. And the other thing, for those of you who don't have members, like the golf clubs do, is they're bringing in that you are responsible for third-party harassment. So if any of your clients harass it or, abuse your staff, you are legally responsible for that. So you need to make sure you have things in place to protect your staff if they are in a situation where that could happen. And that if you do have that, and somebody is abusive, whether it's verbally abusive or sexually, that you know exactly what you're going to do. Is like our default is, for example, you have a ban, lifetime ban, you are out you go. That's it. We're reporting it to the police. End of. That's it. There's no two ways. It's not, oh, well, he's been a really good customer. No, that behavior is unacceptable now. So you need to think about it before you get into that situation. Nadia, have you got anything to add on that one?
Yeah, I think that it's also important to note that in this specific case that Carolyne uses an example here, they completely failed to follow any process when the initial complaint was made, and that's a problem for them now, because they are now having to back up into this process without saying we screwed it up and we have to go back and redo it, because they can't do that because they gave a no further action type of outcome. So it's really important. There is a process that deals with these things that has to be followed. And in the law change we've already had, and specifically in the law change we're going to have with this in the future, not following a process the moment you get a complaint and thinking we can just do a gentlemanly chat with this man, is you're going to lose. Like, we won't even bother, but we won't even have to review the rest of your case. You're losing right there. So ensure that the moment you get a complaint like this, you think process. And if you don't immediately know exactly what the process is, call us, or maybe call us anyway. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And the thing that was particularly bad, and again, if you had a case, all of these notes are going to come out, so don't think that you can just, this is a problem. They'd actually written down, oh yeah, the captain's going to do a light touch investigation meeting. You have a sexual harassment claim from a minor, well, not an official minor, but certainly under 18-year-old. You do not want to do light touch. You want to come down with the force of the law to make clear to this guy that he's fine. Now, we don't have a recording. The other thing is you have to record it on your phones. You have to record it. That we don't have that recording. the captain said, oh, he apologized. Yeah, but did he say, oh, yeah, I'm sorry? Or, yeah, okay, I guess, God, the world's gone mad. I guess I won't do it again. What did he say? Because the captain was like, oh, yeah, he knows he shouldn't do it again. He then went to the bar and said, I hear you've been moaning about me. So he obviously hasn't understood what the situation is, that if he does it again, he's going to be kicked out. And now they could do a disciplinary on that, but it's like it's so much weaker than the sexual harassment one. And like Nadia said, they haven't done the process. They haven't treated a grievance properly. They haven't done it properly. The person looking at the bar staff and seeing if there was any other examples was interrogating them because they had a police background. And I'm going to say nothing against the police, but this is not a criminal activity. This is not beyond any reasonable belief, beyond any hope of redemption. It is on a balance of probability, and the females were being interrogated like, did they do something? When did they do it? Oh, well, you haven't got any proof. Oh, well, did you write it down? That is not what you do. Okay, the onus in discrimination, which is this, is that the person who's been accused, and this is the same at tribunal, the person who's been accused is guilty until they prove themselves innocent. If he could come up with a recording that said that this female had asked him to stroke her hair, great, we're willing to talk about it. But unless he's actually got a recording of her doing that, you are guilty and you're going to have to prove yourself innocent. And usually they are guilty, not usually, they are always guilty. They are always guilty. And I appreciate, I'm going to piss off people saying that, but the females do not raise these claims after the first instance. It's after the third, fourth, 20th instance where they go, actually, I've had enough. I don't want him touching me anymore. I don't want him, ogling me and looking at my breast going, oh, you're really nice today, and looking just at the breast part. There's going to be more than one incident. These people never do it just once to one person. They do it to other people. And you need to treat it seriously and not go, oh, well, they might be making it up. Yeah, they might. But why don't we assume that they're not? Because we all know Bob. And we know that Bob says things and it's like, oh, well, he's out of touch. Well, make him back in touch, because that is totally unacceptable in your workplace.
Being out of touch is just not an excuse anymore. It's really hard for the victims. I'm using a very release word here, but the people who are raising these complaints, it's really difficult for them to raise these complaints. I mean, we are dealing with so much sexual harassment at the moment. I would say that easily 70% of what we do at the moment is dealing with sexual harassment in terms of big cases. And it's really difficult in all but one situation, the girls to raise this. They're not just going to raise this just to cause trouble. It's hard for them. It's hard for them to talk about. Sometimes it's impossible for them to talk about, and they have to put it in writing. This is not something that they just do to just make some trouble for someone. And the other thing to think about with sexual harassment is that a lot of what we see, and it's the same in this case, unfortunately, is that the person accused is not saying, I didn't do it. The person accused is saying, surely it was okay to do it. And you need to think about that when you're dealing with these things. And if you have a board, the golf clubs, put it to them this way. Say to them, he's not saying he didn't kiss her. Believe me, we had this case earlier in the year. He's not saying he didn't kiss her on the mouth, and there's CCTV showing it. He's just saying, I don't see that it's a problem because she didn't push me away. So, and it's the same here. He touched her hair. He's not saying he didn't touch her hair. He's just saying, why is it wrong? And that is a problem. The problem is not that they're being falsely accused. The problem is that they don't think what they're doing is wrong. And that's something that really should be considered. I can talk to you now about something that's not sexual harassment. How about that? Something that's really useful this time of the year, and I feel like we do it every time this time of the year, because we're about to go into the, oh my God, can they carry over holiday questions? So you've got 8 and a bit weeks left if your holiday year ends on the 31st of December, which the majority of our clients do. If you haven't looked at your holiday situation with your staff, do that today. Have a look at that report. See how much holiday your employees have left to take. And if you've got problems, then now's the time to address them because you have time left. Okay? So what you can do, you can tell an employee to take their holiday by giving them double the time notice in writing. So if you have an employee that's got a week, got 5 days of holiday left, they're not booked for the rest of the year, you can tell them to take that holiday at a time that is convenient for you, by the way, and give them 2 weeks notice. So you have to give them 2 weeks before the start of that 1 week holiday. Actually, you give them 10 days because the holiday is worked out in the days that they're working. But the notice is that you have to give them is calendar days. So if you have an employee that's got 5 days holiday to take, which is a week, you only have to give them 10 days calendar notice of taking that 5 days holiday. So make sure you are looking at it. Don't leave it. Don't let it sit at the bottom of your to-do list, because in a month's time, there's going to be a lot less that you can do about this. You're going to have a lot less time. You're going to have maybe be busy. You're not going to have enough time for the notice. So deal with it now. Deal with it this week. And if you feel a little uncomfortable about telling your staff to just take their holiday when you need them to take their holiday, then send out a message today to say, if you still have holiday left, ensure that you are having this holiday booked in the next week for the remainder of the year. Any holiday that's not booked in by Friday next week, we will allocate you a time to take your holiday. So if you want to give them a little warning shot, do it today. And if you've got any questions about how to handle this holiday situation, let us know, because we are geared up and ready. It's that time of the year.
Yeah. Are there any questions so far today? Everybody happy? Melanie Pointer.
It's related to the harassment piece, so that's good. It's all relevant. I have this anyway. If you have, which we do, external people that could, even the postman could be a bit cheeky, I guess. So how do obviously we can't train them. We can't train postmen and say, right, sit down and do whatever. The only thing we can really do for people like clients and postmen and stuff is to have a sign-up. So apart from if something came to anything, you had to prove that you'd done all these 4 steps, as you were saying. Is that sufficient? Because certainly in-house we can train people like within the staff, but it is actually quite difficult to control third parties other than just make it known. So is that seen as sufficient?
So it would be having the signs up. I would have CCTV on the areas where people interact. I appreciate that in some of your treatment rooms, I don't know, I think you've got CCTV in treatment rooms.
I have got CCTV in reception, not in all my receptions, and obviously not in treatment rooms.
Okay, are you legally allowed to have them in treatment rooms? Because not with sound.
I don't know. I mean, in some ways, whether you could have them not angled on the treatment bed, I don't know. But the thing is that I think the legislation, and you covered this a long while ago, actually. So in my memory, there's a different guideline for film recording as opposed to audio. Now, you could actually have audio in there, which would give the privacy visually, give you an idea if there's a problem. But I don't know what the legislation is around that.
No, that's what I was thinking, that audio would be better, and it might be worth saying, us going and investigating. I think if you say, look, I think there's a way you could do that. And part of it is going to be how you react if there is an issue, that it's really clear that if there is something raised, that you're able to deal with it very quickly without any delay. But for example, the postman, I'm going to say most postmen are like, yeah, have the letters. I don't want to interact with you. They're lovely, but they're overworked. But it's just like, if it's from another company and there's a problem, is to then immediately say to the company, this person is never to come back again. These are the details of what it was. Please take the appropriate action. Again, that's what is making it clear that you don't tolerate it and that they are not to send that person back. And if they say, well, we don't have anyone else, it's like, well, I'm going to have to terminate my contract with you because they're not allowed to come back again.
Right.
Thank you. And that will then force them to think about it and deal with it properly.
Yeah. Which I think with your clients anyway, because if patients are a pain, and they have actually done that. We have had patients sexually, say things that are inappropriate and this sort of stuff, and we have said, either, like if it was a man, either we've changed them originally, this is historically, to a male physio, if we had the opportunity, but if not, now we just send them back and say we're not doing it. But it causes a hoo-ha, because then they say they didn't, then you've got to prove they did, and then you've got to have all the statements from all the people saying you said this, then it becomes he said, she said, and it gets very difficult.
Yes, so that's what I'm thinking. If you have a sign up saying we do audio recording, we don't do visual recording. I mean, it is. I think that's maybe one of those things you need to give them to sign before they go in. It's like, we will be doing treatments. We will be audio recording to comply with the new law on sexual harassment. We are not doing visual recording. There's no CCTV, but we are doing audio recording. Please sign to indicate that you're willing to go ahead, because it is their free choice to not go ahead. So if they sign that, it's a bit like the waiver. There is a question, a slight question as to how legally enforceable that is. But as a grown-up who could say, no, I don't want to do it under that basis, that's great. Off you go. Bye-bye. Thank you. But you then at least have something where you can go, no, we know, even if we can't use it in a court, we know exactly what you said. There is no doubt on our mind that you said exactly what the therapist said that they were doing.
But the thing is, I would be interested to know what's the difference between that and a call recording. Because on our phones, it says obviously we record our calls. We've used that many times for people that have been abusing or said things, and we make it known that the calls are recorded. So I'm not sure how there can be much difference if you're in person somewhere and you're still recording it. And from our perspective, it's very, very useful for a training perspective. I've never been able to do it, but I would love to, because I can then talk, have a look at client conversations and say, actually, if you'd said it this way or if you'd done this and that. So I can manage the quality much, much better if I could audio record. That would be great.
I think what we had before is that on CCTV, it's only supposed to be visual and not audio, but we haven't actually investigated whether you could just have audio. That's the thing. So that's what we need to probably look at and see what we could do there. But yeah, I think if you've got them to sign that little waiver along with them, because there's always a waiver to sign, isn't there, before any treatment, they say, oh, drawing your attention, highlighted, this is a new one. Are you willing to go ahead? I'm going to say as well, there is some self-selection there, because people are like, oh, no, I don't want them to. I don't want to do that. Okay, I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to treat you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah. So. Yeah, no, exactly. But I think it's knowing if we can do it.
You can always do it. Is whether you could use it legally. That's going to be the thing. But let's have we'll go and have an investigate, and then we can have a chat about it next week, Mel. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else with a question? No, everybody's happy. All of your members and staff members behaving themselves. That's excellent. Good. Okay. Well, we'll leave it for this week. And hopefully we'll have different issues to talk about next week. Who knows? But if there are any questions, meantime, as always, just send us an email or give us a call and we can sort it all out for you. All right. Have a lovely weekend and good fun trick-or-treating tonight, obviously. Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you want a free tribunal audit of your employment contract and handbook, click the link in the description below.